Let me get back here in the studio and with Mr. Sawyer. Now, you heard Professor Pate. His was logistics. What they do is necessary for the smooth running of the process, which, if they pull back from, will create hitches. That's on one hand. And the students have talked about vetting, being sure that the right people are accessing the loans at the right time. How do you react to these?
Okay, so first of all, let me thank Professor Pate for his very important comments. I think that it is fair to say that in trying to establish transparency and trust, and in trying to prevent misappropriation or diversion, naturally, we have taken a very strong interest in where the money gets to. The investigative agencies, the ICPC, and the EFCC in particular, who gave us 50 billion naira, are especially interested in the disbursement process, where the funds arrived, did they arrive, how did they arrive, did they get there in full? So they carried out their own independent investigations, not just into the institution, but into us who are disbursing the funds. This is a very, very important foundation for a program that we want to be sustainable. And what has happened is that during the course of these investigations, many of our people have been invited for interviews, for questioning, for explanations that the investigative agencies are struggling to understand. They've done the same at the institutions. It's been very draining on time. It's been very draining on logistics for these institutions. They're having to spend funds to go and attend interviews. Even on the refund side, they're having to refund monies to students. You can't refund money free. There's a charge. Now, we didn't build this into our budget at the beginning, but we recognize this challenge. And what we're doing now is we're saying, okay, we're going to, in our new budget, we're going to build in fees or recoverable expenses for the institutions. The institutions, technically, are acting as agents because they're acting on our behalf. They're not being paid. And we have to have these honest conversations. We have to recognize that they have their own budgets, they have institutions to run, and they can't be taking line items from somewhere else to cover some of these logistics. Otherwise, they're misappropriating. So we need to look at these together, understand what the quantum of logistics, the quantum of administrative costs or charges are, reconcile, and move forward together. So I thank Professor Pate. I think they're very reasonable comments. On the side of the students, I think the question was around vetting. So, we inherited a system where we had to literally hit the ground running. Yeah. All the students who apply for these loans do not apply together. They apply almost randomly. When we kick this off, we open the portal for an endless period of time so that as many people who need these loans can come and apply. At some point, we have to say, stop, we collate everything, we put up a list, and then we send it to the institution to say, these are the people, we've never met them, who claim that they're in your institution. Your data suggests that they are. Are they really there? Are they still there? And then when the institution comes back to us, we sign off and then we disburse. Now that process, because it's staggered across institutions, it's staggered across when students apply. It isn't an aligned process. We're trying to bring it all together and align it. And again, we need the support of students, and what you're going to see us doing now is having windows for applications. A start date, like the 23rd of October, we're reopening, 31st of January, we're going to close, so that we can concentrate the minds of the people who want to apply. That this is not just an open thing. We left it open initially because it was new, and we wanted to make sure that we caught as many people as possible into the process. But the process will get better. The institutions will suddenly start to realize at some point that these sessions need to be aligned. As we get away from the era of strikes and people being off, institutions being closed for upwards of a year, we're going to move into a new era where, as you see in some other countries abroad, where there's some alignment. So this will naturally get better, and we're going to try to catch up with it. Another issue that I picked up from the student leader in Zaria, the gentleman, around, I think he was talking about the speed of payments back to the institutions, or to the students. The reality of it is that we have a totally electronic process that we run. At the end of that process, we need the institutions to sign off. Some do it very quickly, some don't. But what I can tell you, the good news I can tell you is that in the past we used to batch and send the list to the institutions. Today it is uploaded automatically. So they can literally have an application verification today, approve that one, yes, and then send it back to us. And then we still have to do some degree of batching so that we can pay in bulk rather than individually to the institutions. The other issue that he raised, and I'm really sorry, is that he talked about tickets not being responded to. So when the students apply, they have certain issues, they put in the wrong account number, or they put in some data that's not quite accurate. That doesn't allow the process to work for them. They then have to raise a ticket. A ticket means that they raise a complaint, we respond to the complaint. Again, I have to tell you, he's absolutely correct. Our response rates to tickets are less than desirable. But we've got to make some investments. We've got to make some investments in call centers. We've got to make some investment in human capital to ensure that we can respond. We've got to train people to be able to respond to what is effectively a customer service requirement. So he's right. But you're going to see these things improve. The great thing is that we're paying students today. We're paying students, we're trying to pay them on time, and we're trying to pay them in full, and we restored this hope that takes people off the roads, takes people away from crime, takes people from wanting to travel abroad. Some of the metrics you're talking about, which you'll see later, take people away from mental illness out of frustration of not being able to go to school. So thank you.